pretty cool. Cool thing with Baal. We're going to get double the amount of Crushing Blow with our mercenary as well. This is Nightmare Baal. He's still going to teleport all over the place, but you should, with the Crushing Blow from both characters, be able to do just that. And we got a foul rune, holy cow. Look at that. And a peasant crown on this run. It offers hybrid DPS to get around immunities, single target, AoE. You get to be both a melee build and a spellcaster to some degree. And it's just a fun build with a lot of quality of life, and it's cheap. So that's another important thing. Getting up and running is going to be really easy with this build. So today we're taking a look at the Thunderclaw Death Sentry Kicksin, which in my opinion is one of the best starter builds coming in. And this build in particular, it has kind of that feeling like it's a jack of all trades. Like it can do almost anything pretty much. It has a melee component to it, but it also has elemental damage, spellcasting, has nice hybrid DPS between the corpse explosion with the physical on fire and the lightning from your attacks, and the kicks doing physical as well with the crushing blow. It's just a good mix to both area clear and do a lot of damage against single targets bossing. It's pretty good. Now, is it going to beat, say, Nova Sorceress in area clear? Probably not. Is it going to beat, say, a Hydra Sorceress in boss killing? Probably not. But does it do both of those things a little bit better on the other end? Probably. One thing when you're comparing this, especially to a Sorceress, is the Sorceress doesn't get a lot of mobility early on, because even though you have teleport with a Sorceress, you can't use it early on because it costs too much mana. So until about level 30, you're still moving slowly. This is where the Assassin really excels. Mobility early on, and so it's going to feel really nice when you're leveling this. You will be leveling the kick ability, Dragon Talon, first, so it's a level 1 ability. You can put points into it really easily. So in that sense, you're going to be doing single target most of the levels until you get to level 18 and are able to pick up your Claws of Thunder ability. But until then, you're kind of stuck in this melee mode. So that might be a detriment. But aside from that, what I opted to do was earlier on level, like I said, the Dragon Talon and then the Claws of Thunder, picking up just enough points in burst of speed to hit 5 soft. And this is really nice. Gets you the attack speed breakpoint you need for your dual claw setup. The Claws of Thunder ability, if you weren't aware, requires dual claw configuration. Otherwise you cannot use it. So that's why we have to go for it here. And you may be wondering why we're going for Dragon Talon over Dragon Claw, because Dragon Claw is a dual claw specific melee finisher, which would allow you to expend your charges a little bit better. And it was between Dragon Claw and Dragon Talon. We have to put points in one of them to get the attack rating and, extra physical damage that we want for the build. And between the two, the kick, in my opinion, was just a little bit easier to use because you get 3 kicks instead of just the 2 attacks that the Dragon Claw does. Dragon Claw would give you more control over which level of Claws of Thunder you want to expend, but in my opinion, it was just faster to make sure that you had 3 charges on your Claws of Thunder attack already charged, and then expend them all with the 3 kicks. So one of the cool changes with the Assassin in particular is that they increase the attack rating bonus for most of the martial arts abilities and increase their damage by about 30%, it looks like. And the finishers now will consume all of your charges. This means when you kick 3 times, you will expend all 3 charges that you have saved up. Now always hits the target only if the assassin has any martial arts charges. So this is a good change. It means your finishers will more often hit enemies when you have charges, and your charges are guaranteed to be spent. That being said, even though we have like a guaranteed to hit mod, this doesn't mean that you can go without attack rating. The build itself requires a lot of attack rating just to be able to benefit more from the physical side, hybrid, be able to build your charges. You need attack rating for that, so this is why there's a big focus here on attack rating. You'll see here the gear, which is mostly shared between the two builds, will be the angelic set, dual angelic rings with the magic find and attack rating. You get double the amount with the second ring, which is very nice. We're running the death set for the canopy frozen, all resistance, lifesteal, and the attack speed. This helps us hit our attack speed breakpoint. You'll note on Claws of Thunder for the lower build where it's only going to be 11 frames that we hit. But with the higher build, you're able to hit 10 frames with the extra base attack speed from the exceptional claws or greater. These are going to allow you to hit that higher breakpoint, which is quite nice. It feels more smooth. Both of the builds hit a good breakpoint on Dragon Talon anyway, so that's really nice. Something to note here with both of these skill builds is you're running 4-piece angelic, so you get a lot of plus skills, and you also get plus mana plus life, and we're also using a lore helm for additional plus skills. Again, saving you skill points. You have to hit a certain number of points in Dragon Talon to get 3 kicks. Similarly, you have to hit a certain number of skill points in the Shadow Tree for your burst of speed. So this saves a lot of skill points earlier on and lets you invest them into damage dealing abilities. Something we're going to spec out later in the process is going to be Death Sentry. So compared to the early leveling builds, you'll see here that we don't have Death Sentry later on for that extra hybrid damage and area clear. You tack that on later because in normal, the Claws of Thunder AoE is enough to get by, and the physical damage I feel is more important. The leech staying alive in normal is just pretty cool. It is notable with the Death Sentry, we don't have enough points with this sort of hybrid starter build at this low level to fully spec out the Death Sentry and get like a wide radius on it, especially without having a lot of plus skills. So compared to, say, a Lightning Trapsin or a Fire Trapsin, your radius on the Death Sentry Corpse Explosions will be a little bit lower, and the damage from the Lightning will be definitely lower. So if that's something you're interested in, maybe you should take a look at like a Fire Trapsin or a Lightning Trapsin that includes Death Sentry in the build. You do get Claw Block, Weapon Block with the setup here, which, you know, it does keep you a little bit safer. One thing I really liked is that we're just, even in the normal setup where we're using normal claws as our bases, it's still a very strong build using the Strength, Rune Word, and Tier, very cheap. It's very important your primary claw be the Strength claw between the two claws, because this is the one that has Lifesteal and Crushing Blow on it. You won't gain the benefit of those affixes if it's in the other claw position. Generally, when you start a game, your primary claw will be the one on top of the glove slot. However, if you happen to re-equip your claws, it's whichever claw is first equipped. And then the Pattern Rune Word, this is new for 2.4, going to give you block rate, which is going to come in handy for your weapon claw block. And then enhanced damage, a bunch of elemental damage. Mostly here though, we're using this for the all resistance, because it's going to be very hard on this character to hit the all resistance, especially for Nightmare, which is what we're targeting eventually. We have upgraded a Death Guard sash to its exceptional base. Keep in mind that you will have to spend money, currency rather, to upgrade. It's fairly cheap. A Talon, a Shale Rune, and a Perfect Diamond for the normal up to exceptional. And you'll want to do that for both your belt and your boots in this build. Keeping in mind that You have to be at least level 30 to upgrade to the exceptional boots. It's really cool because the kick, you go in the kick 2 because then your weapon damage isn't dependent on the claws, because our starting claws aren't that strong. So going a Kicksin, I feel is better because of this reason as well. You can upgrade your boots from a cheap boot such as Sanders and just go from there. Really nice, get you a lot of faster run walk, attack rating, but you know, the progression here just feels really good. And eventually you'll get into that elite boot, Scarab Shell boots that get you that high amount of kick damage by upgrading using the Ko and Lim rune and Perfect Diamond. Note the weapon exceptional to elite is much more expensive using a pull rune, but the Ko and Lim I feel is really affordable and something you can definitely do to get a lot of physical damage in this particular build. So it's, on top of being a jack of all trades, it's really cheap aside from that. So if I was to go for this build, that would be the reason. Something to note is that the charm setup when you get to the exceptional version is going to be a little bit more expensive because you do need some hit recovery charms, some all resistance charms to fill out and make sure you're capped on resistances. But just breaking into Nightmare, you don't need capped resistances, and you can start on that without, and it feels really good. So the mana management with this build was really nice, actually. Having the plus mana after each kill. Affixes combined with the insight meant mana burners were rarely an issue, and that's something that's rare to say, especially coming from playing a sorceress, which is mana heavy attacks, and then you also have like maybe a traps in, which also requires a lot of mana, spamming those traps continuously. So this is a nice quality of life pro for this particular setup over those arguably better, quicker starter builds. And then on the early build, your mercenary will be a prayer merc to get you a little bit easier capability, not having to spam potions as much. You do need resistances on your early merc though, so we're going Dark Glow Ringmail with the Dust Deep Helm. And then later, once your mercenary is in Nightmare and doesn't need a smoke chest piece, which would be Nephilim, I believe, gives a lot of all resistance hit recovery, you can switch into a Rattle Cage, which would be a very good option for single target crushing blow and keeps him a little bit safer with the monster's chance to flee. So I don't know how much this will cost, but it's well worth it for this particular build. We're running Life Leech Helmet, and then you'll also run an Insight and an Exceptional base upgraded eventually. So in conclusion, this is one of the better starter builds in the game, better than a lot of builds. Maybe not the best, but still one of the better choices you can opt for. It offers, hybrid DPS to get around immunities, single target, AoE, you get to be both a melee build and a spellcaster to some degree. And it's just a fun build with a lot of quality of life, and it's cheap. However, once you get to this point, progressing into Hell is a little bit harder because the next step up here, going into a budget setup, would be the Natalia set. And Natalia's set is a little bit more cost prohibitive, and while it performs well, it can still only do like players 1 Hell, whereas other builds that you could put together with other classes, for example, or even the traps in, those can do higher player counts in Hell fairly readily with more budget gear. So my recommendation is not to take this character further unless you are rich and this is just something you want to play later in the ladder. But yeah, for what it is, it's really good, and hope you enjoy it. And the cool thing now that you have the Death Sentry is you can just lay all of them down before the wave comes. And your charges will stay for a limited amount of time. I think it's something like 20-25 seconds. So you can persist them between the Baal waves. See, they expired there. Some of the time you can persist. I'm going to back up here. These are dangerous. You want to use your Mind Blast and your kick to advantage. And then you put down Death Sentries and mop up the rest.